Reclaiming my time. Thanks for your testimony, Madam Secretary. I just caught my attention when you responded to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Poe, and just in discussion about prosecutorial discretion, and you referenced Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution. Could you expand on that a little bit about how Article 2, Section 3 grants prosecutorial discretion?
Well, Article 2, Section 3 says that the executive branch shall take care to faithfully execute the laws of the United States. And then when you read the U.S. Supreme Court authorities interpreting that, Cheney or Haney or whatever, and then Reno versus Arab American Anti-Discrimination League is the one that's specific to immigration. That is taken and put into the analysis of how you exercise discretion or the source of discretion
well, thank you.
In the immigration context.
And I expected that would be your response. I just wanted to make the point that the Constitution doesn't say so. You can make those references to those cases, and I won't take issue with that, but it does say he shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. I'd also point out in the President's oath, I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. By extension, that oath then applies to his officers that also take that oath. Would that not be correct?
That's true.
Okay. Then I just wanted to clarify that. It isn't so much an issue. It's this, that when we see the litigation that's coming forward against Alabama, Arizona, and it looks like any state that wants to pass immigration laws, the executive branch is litigating that through the courts. Now, if they are successful, if Eric Holder is successful in scrubbing these immigration laws from the states, that leaves then the federal government with the exclusive authority to enforce immigration law, does it not?
Well, again, as I've referenced several times, when we have partnerships like Secure Communities, that indeed helps us focus the exercise of that discretion.
Then let me restate my question. If the Attorney General is successful in the litigation that he's initiated on these states that have passed immigration laws, rather than the Secure Communities component of this or the 287G component of this, there would be then no latitude for states to pass immigration laws that they would enforce at their discretion.
There would be no latitude for states to pass laws that change federal immigration policy.
I don't think that is. I would disagree with that. But rather than dig down into that and burn up our time, I'll just make this point that it looks to me that the administration is going down the path of shutting down all state legislation on immigration, regardless of whether it goes beyond the mirroring the federal law, which is what Arizona was designed to do, and that in the end it takes away the authority of the states to do that, to do immigration enforcement. I'll take you also to some other data that Judge Poe addressed, and that is the 34.5% of foreign nationals that are occupying the jails on the border states. Are you familiar with the GAO study that is March 2011 criminal alien statistics? And it addresses the, okay, then I have it in my hand and I'll reference it. In it, it has data in there that shows that we have 25,064 arrests of criminal aliens for homicide. Now that covers some years, I will admit, but I would put that up against the losses that we have had on the southern border. 25,064, an arrest for homicide generally means at least one grave. And generally those are Americans that are killed at the hands of criminal aliens. And so when I heard your reference to 34,000 beds, and that's all that Congress gives you to work with, and you have to use prosecutorial discretion in order to utilize those beds to the best of your ability, what I don't remember hearing, and I've been here 9 years, is a request from the administration first to look at all the assets that are deployed on the southern border. It wouldn't be just your department, obviously. I'm going to suggest that that ranges in the area of $12 billion across that southern border, about $6 million a mile. I've yet to hear anybody put all those assets together and make the ask, how many prison beds, how many prosecutors, how many judges, how do we actually get 100% enforcement on that border so we can begin to save some of these 25,064 lives? Have you put together any kind of a proposal that would actually rearrange the assets so that we could bring 100% enforcement rather than letting drug smugglers go because we don't have the prosecutors, or having to do, if it is something you're reluctant to do, this administrative amnesty that we call it and this discretion that you call it? Have you put that package together?
Well, I'm going to take this in 2 bites. Number one, under our policy, somebody who's accused of homicide would be detained and would be a priority case, and we would have created room on the master docket to move that case through, and we would get that case after the person served his sentence.
But they might be released into society under civitas, wouldn't they?
As I mentioned earlier, one of the things I think it's important for this committee to look at is the entire immigration system, from where we get investigation to prosecution, to incarceration, and then potentially, and then to the removal. And each one of those crosses different federal agencies. So we have a comprehensive Southwest border strategy we use with ICE and CBP, some degree CIS. We have moved ICE resources down to the border. We have moved detention beds down to the border. We have more resources at the Southwest border than have ever existed before. But that's not to say that the Congress in its own organization doesn't have the ability to look at it overall.
So what are the sum total of the assets, and what is the ask of this Congress to give you all the tools you need to give 100% enforcement on the border?
The time of the gentleman's expired, but I'll allow you to answer that question and we'll move on.
I think the best way to answer it is to say that we believe that with the asks we have made for, particularly for CBP at the border and the movement of ICE resources to the border, that from the DHS perspective, we have been able to greatly improve and secure that border.
Time of the gentleman.